Still sitting in a truck seat that's older than your favorite pair of work boots? Your back has been filing complaints for years. If your seat is worn out, sagging, or just plain uncomfortable, it's time for an upgrade. Head on over to seatspecialist.com. Check out their selection of quality replacement seats built to keep you comfortable mile after mile. And don't forget to use promo code TR10 4U to save 10% on your order. Seatspecialist.com, because a better ride starts with a better seat.
Welcome to another episode of That's Delivered, the podcast that brings you the latest insights and stories from the heart of the trucking industry. I'm your host, Trucking Ray, and today we have a special guest with us, Nikki Thomas from Women in Motion with ATA, an organization dedicated to promoting and supporting the advancement of women in trucking. We will dive into her personal journey, explore the origins of Women in Motion, and discuss the impactful initiatives they are leading to empower women across the country. Hey, Nikki. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?
Glad to have you on, man. This is exciting. Have you here with ATA and also Women in Motion. I mean, it's a great opportunity to talk to our listeners and tell them about what you guys are doing. I like to start it off with just kind of get a background of what you do and tell the listeners about how you got into the trucking industry and some of your involvement. So what made you all get started in trucking?
Yeah, so I've been with ATA for a little over 2 years. So a lot of people would say I'm still pretty new in the industry. Prior to that, I worked for an association, an oil and gas association. So we did a lot of the same type of advocacy work there, but transitioned over to the trucking industry about 2 years ago. And it's been an adventure, a fun adventure since then. I'm the vice president of industry affairs at ATA. And under my umbrella is Women in Motion, as well as all of our other programs at ATA. So we have 4 truck programs, workforce development programs, Trucking U, Lead ATA, and those types of things too. So that's under my portfolio. But for the last year since Women in Motion launched, that's kind of been what I've been running with, so to speak, full force. And we're excited to be here to talk to you today.
Yeah. I'm excited to have you on. I mean, the path into trucking can always be a little rough because sometimes people will say, hey, I want to do something else, but then you end up doing trucking and you end up loving it. What inspired you to pursue a career in the trucking industry?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, what inspired you to pursue a career in the trucking industry?
Yeah, I had full disclosure, I didn't know much going into the trucking industry. What I can say, and I was just having a conversation with one of our board members earlier today, is it's incredible, just the relationships. This is definitely not a transactional industry. They people really want to connect with you. They want to get to know you and help you succeed. And so I think that that's something that's really unique and positive about the industry and just kind of the space that we're trying to create for women as well with Women in Motion. And so, I think that I'm excited that I landed here. I can't say that it was what I, always dreamed of at the time, but I think that, the path kind of led me here and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, that's excellent. Was there any pivotal moments that you can recall or any influences from a certain person that said, okay, to check this field out? Or you have anybody you want to name?
I've had a lot of great mentors, men and women from my prior association that have always encouraged me and told me that I can, do whatever I want to do, and the sky's the limit. And within ATA, I've also been fortunate enough to work really closely with our COO, Sarah Raddick, and she's the co-chair of WIM, as well as Brenda Neville, who is a legend in the industry, the president and CEO of Iowa Motor Truck Association. And both of them have really just kind of poured into me and poured into Women in Motion, and helping me kind of stand up the different programs that we need, our call on Washington, and those types of different things that really we're trying to move the needle forward with, and make some real change in the industry. So, I feel very fortunate to have a long list of people who have kind of supported me both before I got here and now that I am here. So.
Oh, cool. That's amazing. How cool is that to have people that inspire you? I love the fact that, you can have a podcast and inspire other people. So yeah, share that joy that you've had in your life. You can share that with other people and let them know, hey, it's okay to help people out.
Yeah. I think that's what makes us like authentic people, and we're not just kind of here pushing a message, or we know the talking points, right? We're people behind the job, we're people behind the podcast host, or the VP of Industry Affairs. I am that, and I love that job, but I also am a person, and so I love connecting with people. So I think that that's what has really been refreshing in my time at ATA this far.
Hey, look at that. We got something in common. That's awesome. I love connecting with people. Yeah, their stories are amazing and how they got there. Let's hone in on that. How has your involvement in trucking shaped your personal and professional life?
So, not just Women in Motion, but with our truck programs, we have 4 programs at ATA. One of them specifically that has really just kind of changed the way that I am on the road, the way that I think about things, is our Share the Road program, which teaches a lot of high school students who are just getting their driver's license or permits, how to maneuver safely around commercial vehicles. I can think back to when I was just starting to learn to drive, or even in college, where I feel like I know that I'm guilty of, it's like a us versus them mentality a little bit, like how can I quickly maneuver around this truck as opposed to how can I safely maneuver around this truck. And so that's just one of the programs that to me has really just changed my outlook, and I think made me a better person. I also have nieces and nephews, and I think that, well, I do talk to them now. They're all old enough to drive or have their permits, and so passing that information along to them and saying like, well, this, he can't see you when you're here, he or she can't see you when she's here. How about you slow down, or, get in the passing lane and, not try to pull that in the non-passing lane type of, messages that I think go a long way and just has kind of changed my perspective. As far as Women in Motion and the programming there, our mentorship program, as I was mentioning earlier, Sarah on staff has really helped me tremendously in the last 2 years. We're not official mentor-mentees in the program, but I just know the value of mentors and having people that are asking you, what are your goals? How can we get there? Let's write some things down, spend some time thinking about, those things or those roadblocks, and how can we get past them? And so our mentorship program is something else that means a lot to me. And before, and still actually, I was involved in Big Brother, Big Sister. And so I have a little sister. And so that's something that I've always just been really passionate about. And so it's exciting to be able to see women in the industry be able to come together through that program and kind of have the same experience. Learn about each other, take time out of their day for each other, and see how far they can kind of help, pull their mentee up, I think is something that can be pretty life-changing for both the mentors and the mentees. And so that's one of the other programs that I love in Women in Motion that I think has the capacity to really change the industry.
Nice. Think about maybe, you got family out there on the road. Is there any memorable experience that stands out to you in your journey? Maybe it was a good memory, even if it was a bad memory.
Um, I've had my sister tell me that she like thinks about what I have like said and what I've taught her, since joining the industry, and so that makes me really happy. Also, in my position, I get to work with our America's Road Team captains really closely, and so those are kind of the best of the best in the industry. Safe driving miles, each of them millions of safe driving miles, really love their company, really love the industry. They're ambassadors for the industry. And so we have about 75 active captains right now. And so, I have the honor and the joy of getting to know them, getting to know their stories, why they love the industry. And so, I feel like it, in the best possible way, it consumes you. You find yourself talking about these people who you get to know and who have made these careers, and their focus on safety, and just kind of talking to your network about that, I think has been really great. I can't say that I have one specific road memory or something at this point, good or bad. I've been blessed, to not be in any type of, horrific kind of thing, or have family, in that kind of scenario. But I can say that just all the positive interactions that I've had with drivers has really just made me respect the industry and the profession that much more.
Nice. That's really good. You think about the origins of Women in Motion, founding it and creating that purpose for it. Can you tell us about the inception of Women in Motion,
Sure.
the motivations behind the establishment?
Yeah.
For listeners.
Yeah. So we actually launched a year ago. ATA several years ago, before the pandemic, had kind of tossed around the idea of having a women's group. And so it was something that I kind of inherited. I knew that we had a lot of members that were interested in having a group of women and kind of doing this work and making it a council within ATA, which just means that we want to put together best practices across the industry. A lot of that leads to recruiting and retention, what women are looking for as far as benefits and things that make them stay at an organization. And so when I started, we reached back out to those initial women who had showed interest, and we put together our board. We have 35 women on our board, and there is over about 500 years of experience between our members on our board. So, every background possible, accountants, lawyers, carriers, and we have really focused in on what kind of programs we want to bring, what kind of programs we wish we had when we were, younger, just starting out. And those are kind of our strategic priorities for the last year going into this new year, as well as just kind of being a resource for women to get together and network, and to find that community and make those connections. And so giving them the opportunity to do those things has been really great, and something that 2024, we had a call on Washington, which I'm sure we'll talk about, that was just open to our board. This year, it's open to all of our members. And so we're excited to be able to, have a couple days worth of programming where our members can come and learn how to, advocate both for themselves with some of our speakers that we'll have lined up, and then also just advocate for the industry. We think that that's a really powerful combination and just kind of helps with our mission. And so, that's somewhere that we're looking to do and grow. And this year, with it being open to members, is kind of one of those benefits that we're hoping our membership really leans into.
Nice. What challenges were there? Any gaps or in the industry that the founders aim to address? Maybe something that pain points that they wanted to take care of?
I think just overall, getting more women into the industry, and then once they're here, making sure that they have a great experience. And so those are a lot of the conversations that we have in our board meetings. That's where a lot of our programs have been birthed. One of the other ones that came from one of our board meetings is our peer groups. We just launched those earlier this year for our members. And we're launching with 4. We're walking before we can run, but we're hoping, and we know so many of our members are excited to facilitate a peer group. And what that is our 4. We have a compliance and safety peer group. So those are for women who are in compliance and safety professions. We have a driver focused peer group. We have an executive leadership peer group that is for women who are CEOs, COOs of their companies, and just kind of, being a safe space where you can talk about what's going on in your, job, people from different backgrounds, and they can bounce ideas off of each other, and kind of get those best practices together and help each other grow. And so, that's one of the things that we try to address, and holes that we see, as well as our Trucker Path partnership, which was also birthed from just a conversation that we had with some of our female road team captains, them saying, having a safe place to park in the evening, or knowing, what amenities are available before I stop, is just something that, takes them a lot of extra time, or they just know from being on the road so long, but they felt like it was a barrier for new women to enter. So we worked with Trucker Path on that partnership. And so now, women can go into the Trucker Path app and search. There's 7 amenities: well-lighted bathroom access, well-lighted facilities, 24-hour maintenance. And so these women, if it's important to them, can kind of click on that and see what stops along their route have those amenities that are important to them. And so, just like a lot of listening, to be honest, over this last year on what is needed. I by no means come in being an expert on what, how we can make an impact in the trucking industry, but I do enjoy listening to people's experiences and then finding solutions.
Nice. Wow. So, can you share any success stories on those programs? I mean, man, the mentorship program, that's intriguing.
Yeah.
The peer groups. I mean, man, what can you share with the listeners about those programs and their success?
Yeah. So our mentorship program is a 2-year program. So they'll be graduating at MCE, which is in October for us. And so those women, we had a dinner last MCE where they were all invited. And I think, just listening to their stories on how they've impacted each other both ways. Our mentors say that they've learned a lot from just, their monthly check-ins with their mentees and vice versa, and so just seeing the impact of those relationships growing, I think has been really rewarding. We do a little mixer to kind of pair them together at the beginning. And so we have, mentor relationships that kind of make sense, a driver and a driver recruiter, like that's kind of not shocking. But then there are also those like groups, where they want somebody that's totally not in their field and they're just interested in growing their network and, learning a different part of the industry. And so I think that that's something unique to the program that's been really successful, is just allowing people to get what they want out of the experience and giving them some time to grow with each other. Same with our peer groups. We actually just launched those earlier this month. So we've had a couple, meetings, and the facilitators have been doing a wonderful job getting to know the women and kind of writing summaries and sending them out and around. And so we're excited to see those continue grow. And I know that they will, because the women really come to learn and help each other. And so, I think that that's just another avenue that we're giving, for people to have an impact, and to get to know new people in the industry. So I think there are a lot of women who want to leave a legacy and don't know where to get plugged in. And so, being a facilitator or being a mentor is a great first step, and then once you get one under your belt, you kind of learn that you do have the experience and the knowledge and the expertise to be helpful. And so we're hoping that kind of evolves over time. And our mentees want to become mentors, and that kind of relationship.
That's super nice. Man, I'm thinking about the speaker bureau. to be headed to Asheville pretty soon here. You're going to be talking.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, big speaker thing going. That's awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
that? Speaker Bureau is a
Yeah, so we have women on our board with great experience, great advice. Brenda Neville, she speaks at tons of events in the trucking industry every year. And she does, she's both a leader in the industry because she is a president and CEO of her state association. But then she also is a phenomenal speaker about developing soft skills and leadership training, and all of the members of our speakers bureau really have great advice. And, it's an opportunity for our board members to get kind of into the speaker circuit and be placed on those panels and get that experience that hopefully will help continue to move them up. And so that's kind of where that program was conceived and what we're hoping to achieve with that, really just giving women a platform, whether it's webinars or, which maybe we don't do as many now as when we did, or on panels within their state or nationwide. At ATA, we're trying to plug, our speakers into more sessions as well. It's another great way to really get experience and really provide value to other women who are just starting out.
And so what are you going to talk about in Asheville? You got any
Well, I actually just got off that planning call, so I do know. We're kicking off the conference, which is really exciting. Ben Greenberg, who is the president and CEO of the state association there, does a phenomenal job with that group. And so we'll be kicking off the 2.5 days worth of programming and just talking about the how you kind of make the most of those experiences, those networking experiences. How it really does. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not transactional. It's not an industry where, if you come back from a conference and you have dozens of business cards, but you didn't authentically connect with people, you're missing out, because anyone can kind of sales pitch their job, right? But I think what makes people want to continue working with you, want to continue kind of building those partnerships is knowing them on a deeper level. So we're kind of kicking off the conference and having a lot of those conversations, giving experiences of when we've done that in life and how that's worked out. Things to avoid, you never want to be the last one at the bar, those types of like life lessons, for the conference, just to kind of get everyone, to kind of have the right tone going into the experience, not to rush those conversations. You're there, you've invested your time and your money. So, don't rush the conversation, try to authentically connect with people, I think is kind of the winning message there. So that's what we'll be talking about in our session. They have a lot of other great sessions throughout the 2 days. And so we'll be there to kind of, meet the women there, meet with some of our Women in Motion members and board members that will be there as well. And, have a great time.
That's awesome. You think about all the planning that goes into the traveling, getting to the shows or those events and conferences. And if you don't plan it right, like you said, then you're not going to get those deeper conversations because you're going to feel rushed. You're going to be trying to get everybody and you spread yourself too thin.
Yeah. And I think people get really nervous, right? To network, because you have to be a little bit vulnerable if you're just networking on a level that's just not like, hi, my name is Nikki. I'm VP of Industry Affairs. Nice to meet you. But just how you introduce yourself, to ask questions about them and to listen to their jobs or ask those questions about, their hangups or things that they need to help with or why they're at the conference, and asking those questions and really listening, I think is what, makes a lasting impression when you are able to listen and kind of take that feedback and remember it. Then that's where you make those connections that take you throughout your career.
Yeah. and also a humble approach. I mean, I'm not trying to give anybody a lesson or anything, but you everybody wants to appear somewhat educated and smart, but it's all about that listening and
Yeah.
take in what the other person has to give you instead of you always trying to help other people see what you have to offer. And when you're listening to people, you can help people to see that you actually care about the industry. You create something also like a soft landing for people instead of always pushing that topic and that agenda that you're on. So the humble approach really works. I think it really helps settle people in and give them a nice place to land. So that's what people need. They need someone there in their corner. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah. Now more than ever, people need to feel like they're connected to a group that cares about them as a person, not just someone else, pushing the paper, but somebody who knows about them. So, following up with them on something that's not work related, like, oh, you talked about your daughter's, I don't know, ballet performance or whatever the case may be, like, how did that go? I was thinking about that on the weekend. I think that really helps facilitate some of those other conversations and build those partnerships long term. That's definitely how it started with WIM and Trucker Path. Just a really Chris, the COO there, or CMO, I'm sorry, just a really great person, and a really great conversation. And just, I was connected to him through one of our board members, and, he's just like, we can do this, we can make a difference, and we should do this. Like, let's talk about it, and so, I think just, that's when you find who people are and they want to help you and the industry. So it's a winning combo.
Yeah, everything grows from there. I mean, you think about it when you're able to garden and plant something, that's a connection with the ground. You spend time with it and you get your hands dirty. So
Yeah.
I like it. Just building connections. Yeah.
I mean, it's the same thing as a podcast, right? I mean, that's what you would kind of say is like you connect to these people and, and see what doors open from it. But that's not kind of what leads, is like, what can I get from the conversation? But just like, what can I learn about that person, or that thing that they're doing, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, keep going. I'm pushing for you guys, rooting for you. So yeah, we get this message out there about how you guys there's people behind the name and that they care about the industry. It's a small family with trucking. Once you get into the trucking industry, you see that you treat it like family. So let's talk about upcoming events. How about some more? Let's see. Looks like something going on in Nashville.
Yeah, we're pretty, so part of our strategic plan this year was really to, not everyone who's just starting out their job can go to an annual conference for a lot of reasons. One, when I was just starting out, I don't know that I would have asked my boss if I could, spend $1,200 and go to San Diego for a week, so we're trying to really meet people where they are. So we took our TAEC map, which is divided into 4 different regions. And we're trying to have 1 or 2 things for our members to participate in during the year. And then, of course, we do have our annual meetings, larger ATA. And so next up after NCTA, which is this coming week, we'll be at TMC. And so that will be a great event for our members. They can come to our reception and network with other people in Tennessee who are registered for TMC through that collaboration with them. We'll be at SSHR as well in April. And then we have our call on Washington, and we have a symposium at the beginning of July, which is hosted by FedEx in Pittsburgh. So really just trying to give people something, to start out with, to start building those connections within their regions. And then nationally within some of our programs, like our mentorship program or peer groups, where you can meet people. It's virtual, so you don't have to travel, you don't have those costs, you don't have to be away from your family, but you can make some of those genuine connections. So that's kind of how we're trying our approach for this next year.
Nice. So got some challenges ahead, and you got, the work you guys are putting in and getting it done. What are some of the main challenges? I know the parking, the infrastructure there. So women, face this also with men and the industry. What do you think? What's the outlook look like for the future of parking?
Yeah, I mean, we're really optimistic about, the more we can talk to legislators and the more we can get them to listen about just, the infrastructure changes that need to happen to support the industry. So we'll continue kind of beating that drum through things like our call on Washington. We're also really passionate about the independent contractor model. Last year at our call on Washington, we collected stories from women across the industry. We had, I think it was 25 states that participated. We had a woman's story of an independent contractor and why that business model works for her. It allows them to be there for their grandkids or for their kids, and just that flexibility within their schedule. And so that's another, issue that we're passionate about that we'll continue kind of talking about. Great West Casualty has sponsored that booklet that we take with us up to the Hill. And we ask the legislators, have you talked to any women who are independent contractors? Well, we have this book of 25 stories. This year we're hoping to get all 50. We're working on that. And so that's something else that we talked a lot about at our first call on Washington. And we also just talked about bathroom access. We feel like that's a huge barrier for women thinking about getting into the industry. And so access to Pell Grants as well is something that we'll be kind of visiting again at our call on Washington, and just, access to those training facilities and programs and stuff to become a mechanic or to become, to get your CDL, being able to kind of access those grants, which, currently they aren't. So those are kind of our top tier ones right now, and we'll continue to build them out as we, our larger ATA is kind of looking at the landscape under the new administration and where we can kind of make an impact.
All right. Nice. So any future goals, long-term goals? I know automation is huge. We got a lot of technology that's coming out, unveiling. What is your plans or your organization's plans for the future as to keep women in trucking or just trucking in general staying vibrant?
Yeah, I mean, so at our symposium in July in Pittsburgh, we'll have a panel of women who will just be talking about the new innovations within the industry. And so I think when we're positioned where we want to highlight the women who are making the contributions in the industry, who are the industry experts, so that it inspires the next generation. These women see women being highlighted and women being kind of, given those opportunities. And so I think, within our programming, we always, put up women as the experts in the industry. And so that's something that we'll continue to do. Every issue or, automation or those types of things, we have women on all of, those panels and experts that can speak to that. So I think just continuing to highlight them as the experts, I think is a way to continue moving our mission forward. So I think that that's what we'll be kind of doing over the next year. Short-term goals, is just kind of building out that catalog of experts and ways to get them plugged in, and then trying to find that next generation of women and connecting them to those experts. So those are kind of what we're planning to do for 2025 and beyond. And as it grows, we'll continue to find those strategic partners like Trucker Path, who are like, hey, we can make a difference. Let's do it. And kind of get the power of ATA behind it to support us and make the industry better.
Nice. Is there any ways that male allies can support the mission of Women in Motion? Or what can
they can join. it's open for men and women. You just have to be a little bit okay with being the minority in the room. You're gonna be having a lot of conversations about how you can support women in the industry and promoting women in the industry. I would like to think that my husband would join a women's group, if they had one, and do that. And so, so men can join. Definitely, we encourage that. We want everyone to kind of see the value in bringing a diverse workforce to the table. So, I would say to just get plugged in, just like the women do, get, signed up, and, give it to the other women in your departments or something like that. Tell them to get involved, encourage them, to give them the space to grow, be a part of a peer group or a mentorship program, and help carry the message, I think is a great way to be the ally.
How can listeners, so when they hear this episode or when they go online and look up information, how can they get involved and support the initiatives of Women in Motion and ATA?
So we have a new website that launched earlier this year. Last year we launched our council. This year we launched a brand new website. So we're moving and grooving. It's awesome. It's wim.trucking.org. So women can go, or men can go onto that website and join. We have our membership fees, easily displayed on there, our board, so people can take a look at that, and our programs and our advocacy efforts as well. And so it should be pretty user-friendly. That's something that we were passionate about with the redesign. And of course, if any of your listeners have questions, wim@trucking.org, someone from my staff will reach out, or myself. We're a pretty small but powerful group. And we would love to get people connected. So either through our website, wim.trucking.org, or email us, wim@trucking.org.
Awesome. I love it. Just keep up the good work. Don't stop. I mean, it's sometimes things can get rough. My message is don't give up and keep on pushing, keep on trucking, right?
Yep, 100%. That's what we plan to do. We're resilient, and through good times and hard times, you find a way to make it work, and you find a community of people that help you. And so that's kind of what you come out on the other side of hard times with. So, we're excited to be here. We're excited to have this opportunity, and we will continue kind of waving our flag.
That's it right there. Yep. To conclude, thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on, Nikki Thomas, and sharing your inspiring story and shedding light on the impactful work that Women in Motion is doing to empower women in the trucking industry, and all those as well that help support. The organization like yours paves the way for many more inclusive and dynamic future for trucking in the industry. So to our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about getting involved, be sure to visit the website. Like she said, it's a new and improved wim.trucking.org. So stay tuned for more episodes on That's Delivered, and we can continue to bring you stories and insights from the open road. Did you want to share any last message before we go, Nikki? Maybe give a shout out to somebody or to the truckers.
A shout out to my team. I get to have these conversations and meet great people such as yourself, but it takes a village, and I have an incredible team. Industry Affairs, we have Brittany, Virginia, Meredith, Serena, who answers our inbox questions, and there's so many of those, and those that kind of work can go unnoticed sometimes, but we wouldn't have this opportunity and this council without their hard work. So I think the shout out belongs to them. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, for sure. I know it takes a team of people. I got a great support group behind me as well to help put me here in this seat. So until next time, we'll hope this episode goes out to you guys. Share it with your friends. Also leave a review if you like. Hey, we try to get you on the show too if you need. Get your message out there. So thank you so much for listening. Until next time, keep on trucking.
Are you a trucker looking for a safe and reliable place to park? Look no further than Truck Parking Club. With locations across the country, we've got the perfect spot waiting for you, whether it's daily or long-term parking. And right now, use promo code DELIVERED at checkout for an exclusive discount. Reserve your spot today at truckparkingclub.com and drive stress-free, knowing your parking is covered.